So the Pistons might be cooked. Uh, Lions draft Blake Miller, Derek Moore, and a handful of other pretty good talents in the NFL draft. And the Detroit Tigers, in a little bit of a rough streak right now, they lose the series in Cincinnati 2-1, and Spencer Torkelson makes history for the Tigers. All that and more next on Gordie's Detroit Sports Catch Up.
Put me out of my misery.
So, yeah, guys, Detroit Pistons down 3-1 to the Orlando Magic. Terrible night last night. You lose 88-94. All of these have been, for the most part, low-scoring games. But God, that left a bad taste in my mouth. Jalen Duren, where are you at, buddy? Actually, you know what? We're gonna get into that, like the X's and O's of why he has been completely neutralized in this matchup, and that's something that a lot of people talked about outside of Detroit for a long time. Is where's Cade's second option? Where is he at? Did they know something that we didn't? Because right now, Jalen Duren is not that second option. The Orlando Magic have done a great job crashing the glass and making life miserable in the low post for the Pistons, to where the bread and butter of this team, the identity of your brand of basketball, they completely took it. They jacked their fashion. They copped their swag, and they didn't say, they didn't give you any credit. And when it comes to Jalen Duren, and, listen, bro, homie took your girl. Why? Why are you letting Wendell Carter Jr. look like a freaking all-star when Jalen Duren, that's what you are. That's what you're supposed to be. That's what you played like this season. Yeah, guys, just pretty gross night from these guys. 19 points for Franz Wagner, 18 for Paolo Banchero, 12 for Wendell Carter Jr., 22 points, Desmond Bane. And you saw guys like Anthony Black, Jamal Cain, even a Goga Batadze, make an impact. You want to know what our third, fourth, fifth options did? Asar Thompson, 6 points, minus 16 on the plus minus. Let's see. Tobias Harris was your actual second option tonight with 20 points. Jalen Duren. Looking at this right now. 12 points, 4 turnovers, 5 personal fouls. It's not good enough. That's not good enough. Cade Cunningham tonight. 8 turnovers. Can't have that. Duncan Robinson did absolutely nothing this game. He was just running around. Same thing with a Javonte Green. Couple of shots. Other than that, you didn't do anything. Potato salad. Nothing from him. Karis LeVert, nothing. Dennis Jenkins didn't even look like he wanted to be there. Isaiah Stewart, a guy that actually made an impact on this game. Somebody who brought some intensity, some physicality, looked like he wanted to play, looked like he wanted to be there. Yeah, DNPs from Ron Holland and Paul Reed. I really don't know who to point the finger at. I'm not good at pointing the finger. It's not my first instinct when things go wrong, but I can't help but look at a JB Bickerstaff or a obviously a Jalen Duren in this series when I'm, wondering who let the Pistons down and get in this 3-1 situation. I'm a little surprised, but at the same time, I wish I shouldn't be because thinking back on it, this was the problem with this Detroit Pistons team all year was the shooting. You didn't have good spacing. So a lot of times, yeah, you're able to body teams, in the paint, but we saw a couple of times when you would, when you played Wembanyama. I think we had a game against the Clippers that went rough. You had a few times this season where teams got it done in the painted area against you, and that kind of laid the blueprint for was it Jamal Mosley, the head coach of Orlando, and the Magic to neutralize what you do best and force one or two guys to beat you. They know Cade Cunningham is going to do Cade Cunningham stuff. But if they can stay pesky on him, normally he'll get 5, 6 turnovers. Well, with 8, you keep that extra pressure on Cade, and you pepper him with little hand pokes and a little hand check, all that, whatever. You're gonna get those turnovers. You're gonna get a few extra, and the Orlando Magic scored a third of their points off turnovers. So obviously these turnovers matter a lot. And the Orlando Magic are very good at capitalizing on mistakes. That's another thing at the beginning of the year that I looked at with this team that I thought would really impress me is the speed. But I should have known better, just knowing how Cade Cunningham likes to play the game. He's plays at his own pace. He's floor general. He doesn't speed things up unnecessarily. But I thought this team would get after it more in the fast break. But whether it's Orlando running really good full court presses, or the Pistons just feeling rushed, a lot of these turnovers are coming in transition, and it's just sloppy basketball. It's just sloppy freaking basketball. You can't have that. And yeah, that's why, right now we're down 3-1. Jalen Suggs and like Anthony Black, those are two guys that do a really good job of staying extremely aggressive on defense and forcing those unforced turnovers, or I'm sorry, forcing the turnovers. And another thing too, a way that they've been able to neutralize us, man, they collapse and they crash the glass so hard. They they are really they're doing what we do, or what at least we did in the regular season. And yeah, I was doing the post game show last night, or watch party with Woodward Sports, and vibes in the room were not great the whole time. I mean, we were pretty positive going into the game, but man, especially after we went into the half down, um, not great, not great at all. I wish that I could see a little bit more from JB and JD, to refer to my point from earlier. There's more stuff that you can do with Jalen Duren. All right, Coach Bickerstaff has got to utilize him, high screens, get him involved in the offense, not just in the painted area. But I don't mind if he's taking, a couple of those, a couple of jumpers, those hook shots, post fades. Those are things that Jalen Duren has shown he has in his game. So, if we can get offenses that flow more, fluidly, and get Duren more chances at the basket, I'm all for it. I wouldn't mind seeing Cade as even a secondary ball handler in some sets, and you let an Osar Thompson or even Tobias Harris come up with the ball for a few sets. Right now, you're down 3-1. You got to try something. I know this might sound like some crazy shit, but if it will put points on the board and potentially win us a game, then why wouldn't we try it? So, yeah, I don't know, guys. Not a whole lot more that I can say about these Detroit Pistons. Um, it's gonna be a hell of an offseason. I can tell you that right now. Trajan Langdon said at the beginning of this season, or in the offseason before this season, that they were basically going to kind of let this roster rock, see what they had in tow, and take it from there. Well, now that your baseline is good, and you learn from last year that if you plug in quality veterans, that you can take this team to a whole nother level. Now people say, "Oh, well, the veterans that we had this year were better because they got us to a better schedule or a better overall record." Watch the team. This team, you can't tell me right now that if you replaced Dennis Jenkins and Duncan Robinson with Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, and Dennis Schroeder, that this team wouldn't be better. Obviously, it would be better. I understand why those guys moved on. I wish we could have kept at least one of them, but I understand the contractual reasons, whatever. But Kevin Huerter and Karis LeVert are not good veterans that you can rely on in playoff situations. And you're learning that right now. It's like, those are dollar bin signing, clearance rack veterans when, with a Malik Beasley or Tim Hardaway Jr. or Dennis Schroeder, I would say those are like Nordstrom rack, uh, veterans. That's pretty high quality. That's pretty nice. And I know we have Nordstrom rack money because our owner is Tom freaking Gores, and he put up the money to get rid of a coach that didn't work in one season, like that, gone. So yeah, I will be paying close attention to these Detroit Pistons in the offseason. Make sure that you guys stay tuned for any updates and big news regarding the Pistons, as well as the rest of our Detroit sports content. That's all I have for this segment. I'm gonna move on. So in the next segment, I want to talk about the Detroit Lions draft. A couple of quick things that I want to go over, and yeah, we'll talk about that and more next on Gordie's Detroit Sports Catch Up. What's up, guys? Welcome back to segment 2 of Gordie's Detroit Sports Catch Up. Right now, I want to take a look at the Detroit Lions draft and who did Brad get? So, a couple of guys I'm excited about, a couple of guys that I'm not sure about. Overall, this draft was not very strong, but I couldn't help but feel like with multiple selections that Brad had somebody else on his board before the selection he actually ended up going with. There was a lot of guys that personally I liked more than the guys that he ended up with. But what do I know? You know what I mean? So yeah, let's hop right into it, right? Blake Miller, round one, 17th overall pick, right tackle out of Clemson. Um, Listen, this guy's got a big frame. He is a mauler in the run game, and I really like what I've seen out of his pass sets. I think he at being a tall fella, he is a little bit upright in his stance, which is something that I wish he could work on a little bit. But I think naturally that's kind of just how he's gonna be. I don't know if we're gonna see him able to correct that. But with that comes some questions about leverage and injury questions. But overall, I think that he's a damn good offensive tackle. I think personally that he was probably the fourth or fifth best in the class of tackles, which is a little bit concerning. I think Spencer Fano, Maui Goa, um, even Monroe Freeling were all significantly better than a Blake Miller. Um, and that was something that I've been saying since before the draft. I don't want to like switch up, but I don't want to harbor resentment. So it's a tough position. I accept it. I think he's going to be a great pick, but I would have gone a different direction. One guy that I think is very interesting that the Detroit Lions selected was Derek Moore in the second round, edge rusher out of Michigan. Obviously, very familiar with his game. Really like what he brings to this team as a pure pass rusher, but I didn't think he was the best schematic fit. Now, here's the thing about scheme: you can change it. Shep, you listening? By the way, you hear that, right? You can change the scheme. You don't have to run base. You know there is no rule saying you have to have 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers every set. Like you can do something else. If you don't have the personnel, you could run a 3-4. You could, there's so many different coverages that you could run and defensive sets. Just putting that out there. Yeah, Derek Moore, mainly 2-point stance guy, great against getting to the quarterback. He's got one of the hardest, first like punches off the line. He's really quick off the line. Super physical guy. The bull rush is to be feared. That is his most lethal and obviously preferred pass rush move. I think he has a lot more to learn when it comes to his bag of work, the moves that he can access. He's got a good like ghost rip. I like the swim move that I've seen from him. So he's got a couple of different moves that he can pull out of his bag, but that's the only thing that I worry about a little bit. Is when he gets anytime that he gets doubled or chipped, anything like that is something that he struggles with a little bit. But if I'm being honest, I don't foresee him getting double teamed in this Detroit Lions defense very often. I think a lot of that focus is still going to be on Aiden Hutchinson, unless Derek Moore, blows everybody away and has, 5 sacks by week 7 or whatever. Then I don't foresee him getting double teamed, which means that he can drive up pressure. This guy's going to have a lot of pressures this year. And I know everybody's like, oh, but pressure is not sacks, doesn't contribute on the scoreboard. It contributes on the field. Okay. When the quarterback consistently has less time to throw the ball, He's going to be more, in a more hurried state of mind, and he's going to be rushing, and he's going to make more mistakes. You get after him more, make more mistakes lead to turnovers, or getting the offense back on the field, and that leads to winning the game. So, uh, yeah, I like the pick. I do. Um, but I do think that it hints at some schematic changes coming. And speaking of schematic changes, right? Round 4, pick 118. Jimmy Rolder, linebacker out of where else than the University of Michigan. So at first, I actually really did not like the pick. I thought there were multiple other linebackers on the board that were better. And right before this pick, you saw Jacob Rodriguez come off the board. That was very upsetting for me. Jacob Rodriguez was a guy that I've been watching, kind of keyed in on all last year of the college football season. I saw, like week 2, Texas Tech, and that guy was just all over the place. So that was somebody that I have kind of keyed in on for a while, and fell in love with a little bit. And for him to not be on the team after the draft day is tough. That was the one guy I was really, really pushing for, but it's okay. Jimmy Rolder, people are saying, is like a Jacob Rodriguez 2.0, which, or mini me version of, which I kind of see, but at the same time, Rodriguez is a lot better in coverage than Rolder is. I think Rolder is a phenomenal tackler. I think he has decent sideline to sideline speed. There were other guys in the class that were a lot more elite. Like the main guy that I was looking at was a Harold Perkins Jr. To be basically an Anzalone replacement. He led Michigan in tackles. He's a really smart linebacker. Round 4 guy. This season, he's primarily going to be a special teamer. I don't foresee him getting on the field too much unless, one of our linebackers gets injured, which God forbid, because that's one of the position groups that I think we are shortest at. Yeah, I don't know. He's not like, he's not your like Mike, linebacker. He's more of a will, but I don't know. There's parts of his game that also don't fit into that. It's a weird spot. Definitely a weird spot. But a guy that can come in right away and not be in a weird spot. That's Keith Abney, the second, 5th round pick, with the 157th pick, cornerback out of Arizona State. This pick I really like. Other than the fact that he's 5'10", I was hoping to maybe get some larger corners, but this is something that I think. This is another pick that I think slowly hints at some schematic changes. Now, I keep hinting that when we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But Keith Abney, man, really sticky coverage defender. Has great fluidity, great hips. He's really really good at staying on his man, not falling for the first move. Really like what I've seen out of him. Plays on the boundary and in the slot. So, versatile guy. Brad Holmes loves his versatile guys. And yeah, he has an interesting background. He was a former speed skater. There's, showing some footage of his time as a youth speed skating, which I found pretty interesting. You don't usually see that. But I think that's where, he kind of gets the long strides and the hip fluidity from. So shout out. I think, that's pretty cool. Yeah, he's another way that he's versatile, man and zone coverage. He's effective in. He's very effective in. I believe he had 2 interceptions, like 8 pass breakups. Like over like 30 passes defended. This guy's legit. He, yeah, let me see here. He's got 49 tackles and 8 pass breakups. Allowed a 45% completion rate when targeted. if a quarterback's throwing the ball at the dirt, that's like 40%. So that's that's pretty damn good. Um, and all of this to me signals, as well as some draft signings in, or I'm sorry, some free agent signings in the offseason, prior to the draft. To me, I think that's hinted at the fact that Shep is willing, able, and I think definitely going to switch the scheme up a little bit. I think we're going to see some 3-man fronts. I think we're going to see some 5-man fronts. I think we're going to see more safety blitzes. I think we're going to see a lot more of that hybrid Viper, nickel corner. You have 4 guys that can play that nickel if you include Brian Branch. And, now you have Ezian, McCreary, and now you have a Keith Abney. All of those guys can play that position pretty well. When previously you really just had like an Amik Robertson. So, and sometimes Brian Branch. But I think the front of this defense, as well as the corners, is pretty well set. My biggest question mark about this defense is the safeties. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. Are they going to be healthy? And can we rely on them this year? I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't know about Kirby. This is giving me a lot of PTSD. It reminded me a lot of the Todd Gurley situation from a few years back, and a degenerative knee issue. That's terrible. That's something actually that was a concern with Jermod McCoy, and was the reason why he fell so far in the draft, I believe, to the 4th round. So yeah, that is absolutely terrible. Yeah, I don't know if Kirby is going to fulfill the rest of his contract, is basically what I should say. Excuse me as I do this. Brian Branch, we know that he's going to come back. I think he should be okay. Coming off the Achilles, not too bad. Yeah, so Jermon McCoy, 4th round pick. Damn, I thought that was crazy that he fell that far. I had a bet that he would be a first, top 15 pick. I thought some teams were definitely going to fall for it, but I was wrong. I was very, 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 very wrong. I haven't been that wrong in a while. Well, don't quote me when I say Stones and 4, because I'm being facetious. Yeah, the safeties, man. If they're healthy, this defense is a top 10 defense in the NFL. If they are not healthy, it's kind of last year all over again. Well, I shouldn't say that. I would say it would probably be more like 2 years ago all over again with all the injuries on defense. Because I think the offense will figure it out. I mean, you got Kafka and Petzig in there. If both of those guys can't figure out how to run a functional Detroit or Lions offense, or just recall a decent football team in general, then what are we doing? Honestly, what are we doing? So yeah, I think day one, Blake Miller, Derek Moore, they're going to come in. They're going to be impact guys. I think Derek Moore won't be the starting edge, along on the other side of Hutch, game week 1. I think that would be DJ Wanham, because DJ Wanham's far more of a all 4 down, kind of a defensive lineman. Like I said, Derek Moore, he is limited in the run game. So I would expect best case scenario, he has a James Houston like season. Um, Worst case scenario, I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. Um, Rolder and Abney and Kendrick Law as well. All I think are going to come in and be special teamers. Um, I was not a fan of the Kendrick Law pick, by the way. You still could have got Perkins Jr. at that slot, but he went 2 picks later, so great. Yeah, favorite pick of the draft would probably have to be. It's a good question, actually. Probably going to be Keith Abney. And my least favorite pick of the draft is going to be Kendrick Law. I don't think we needed a mini Debo. I just don't know if our team needed that comparatively to maybe like another coverage linebacker or even a safety. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for the Detroit Lions draft. In the next segment here, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Detroit Tigers and their rough series in Cincy. Welcome back to segment 3 of Gordie's Detroit Sports Catch Up. This is episode 15. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching this episode today. If you have not already, please like, subscribe, comment, turn that little bell icon on so you get notifications whenever I upload. And yeah, if you have anything to say, let me know, man. I try to respond to the comments as much as I can, and I say that like I have a ton of comments, but yeah, I can't do this without you guys, so appreciate it, man. All right, Tigers dropped 2-3 in Cincy. That bullpen is atrocious. I thought the bullpen was going to be okay going into the season. I was nervous, but I thought you had enough arms to make it through. I didn't think Drew Anderson was going to be this terrible. I mean, you know what? He had a decent outing. He actually had a decent outing for once. He's had a couple of decent outings, I think. He's got like 4 innings pitched and like 7 strikeouts in those 4 innings. So, but guys, they're Holton, Hannafy, nothing from them. Siebold hurt. De Jesus gone. Who else? I'm trying not to think of the closers, just the mid relief guys. Montero is a starting pitcher now. Troy Melton is still recovering. Old man Verlander, he's still recovering. I know he's technically a starting pitcher, but whatever. Guys, it's not good. It is not good. I think Brant Herter is showing a little bit of life. Other than that, I mean, Kenley Jansen, when his one pitch, the cutter isn't cutting, then he's not going to get you the win in those. He's not going to get a save in those high leverage moments. That's you live by the cutter, die by the cutter. Will Vest is having a hard time. I think that's still early on in the year. It's it's only April, but not too fond of what I've seen out of him so far. Definitely could be a lot better, but I still have faith in Will Vest. I've seen him save too many games for these Tigers for me to lose faith in a couple of blown saves. So yeah, he's got a pretty long leash. A guy that definitely has a long leash right now. Kyle Finnegan is somebody who has consistently this year. We've only seen him a couple of rough outings, but his control has looked great. His off speed has looked great. That fastball is, still freaking solid, man. So yeah, that's one guy right now that is consistently getting it done for you in high leverage moments, and you should cherish him and hope that he continues to throw like he is throwing. Another guy that you should cherish right now is Casey Mize. And by the way, guys, Casey Mize takes the bump today at about 7:15 p.m. against the Atlanta Braves. So, just wanted to put that out there. Obviously, Casey right now, he's fighting for a contract. Man, he's the crucial year for him. I hope he does great. I'm not sure how much I want to pay him though, because I don't know. Go Casey Mize though. Seriously, I'm rooting for you, man. Sorry, let me get my refreshment. Let's talk about some hitters. Actually, wait. Before we get on some hitters. Well, I guess this is appropriate because he's letting up a lot of hits. Jack Flaherty. He struggles with the control right now, man. And when he doesn't have the control, he just doesn't have it. So yeah, not feeling great on him right now, but I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not saying that he's cooked. I'm not saying trade him. Well, if you put a good enough package together, yeah, sure. But what I'm saying is that we have to be patient, and for now, we should use him as shelter his starts as much as we can, because he's gonna figure it out. I'm sure that he'll, like we saw Jackie Robinson's day a couple of weeks ago. He had a great outing. He's got that. He's got it in him. So maybe it just takes a big moment for him to snap out of bad Jack and become good Jack again. But oh well. Yeah, I don't really have anyone else to talk to or talk about in the arms department. But if we go to the bats department, Spencer Torkelson, man, ties a Detroit Tigers record for having 5 home runs or a home run in 5 straight games. So that's pretty badass. This weekend, he went 6 for 11 with 4 runs, 6 hits, 3 RBI, 3 home runs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Only 2 strikeouts from Torque. In 3 games, only 2 strikeouts. Issue solved. It's kind of funny because Torkelson, I was talking about it before, where he's always going to be reliable for you in the infield and on defense, but on offense, when he's not there, that is a gaping hole in your lineup. So I don't think it's as dire of a situation as a Kerry Carpenter or a Colt Keith. Like, when those guys aren't hitting, then the hell are they doing? But yeah, finally he's woken up. He's seeing the zone very well. He's waiting for his pitch, and he is turning on it. And there's not much else that I can ask from Torque. 3 RBIs is great. That's great. Good job, Torque. You're bringing him home. Thank you, sir. Kerry Carpenter had a pinch hit 2-run home run in the 8th to keep us alive on Friday. That was a big time moment. That one, gave me some optimism, but didn't last very long. And then we also had a 2 RBI double and a triple on Sunday. Sunday had a hell of a game. He was just seeing the zone very well. Liked the pitch. Did my oh, we're good. Okay, that was weird. My microphone died, but it didn't. That was strange. Yeah, so really like what I saw out of Kerry Carpenter. He went 4 for 10 with 3 runs, 4 homers, or 4 hits, 6 RBI, and of course he had the homer on Friday. Another guy that I got to talk about because how can we talk Tigers and not talk about the rookie phenom, Kevin McGonigal? My guy, Magoo, continues to shine with a solo no-doubter early on Saturday. He's drawing walks at such a high level. He has such great control of the zone. He's, fighting off pitches, keeping the count alive. This guy is the full package, man. He's hustling, running around on defense, making great throws. I honestly, I can't say too much more about Kevin McGonigal without repeating myself, because what else can we say about him right now? And he's only rookie. He's only gonna get better. At least he should. So yeah, that's unreal. He went this weekend 5 for 12 with 3 runs, 5 hits, 1 RBI, 2 walks, and a homer. So shout out Magoo. Riley Green, not too shabby. But yeah, I mean, it was really this weekend. Frambler had a weird game. Saturday was just stupid all around. Saturday was absolutely ridiculous. And then, Sunday you finally take care of business, but yeah, Saturday was a wild game, and then Friday just wasn't necessarily Frambler's night. But I'm not going to blame that on him. Obviously, Kenley Jansen giving up the walk-off home run to Nathaniel Lowe. That was tough. That was definitely tough. Frambler only went about four innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts, and a homer. It's not a great showing from him. That night saw some good stuff out of Herter and Drew Anderson. Vest, not so much. Kyle Finnegan, he 4 strikeouts in, over an inning pitched. That's pretty damn good. The bullpen, man. Some of these guys have to wake up, and it won't seem as bad, but in all reality, Scott Harris is going to have to go out and do something very similar to what he did last season, where he got like 5 or 6 arms, but you can't be going out and getting a Chris Paddock or a Charlie Morton. You need actual arms that will contribute. You can't waste time with a freaking Alex Cobb. I know that wasn't an offline or off-season. I know that was an off-season acquisition, but you understand the philosophy of what I'm saying. Go out, spend some money. I don't care if you have to trade some guys. Go get some arms. You have 1 year left with Tarek Skubal. Fucking act like it. You are a 500 baseball team without Tarek Skubal. You are better than a 500 baseball team with Tarek Skubal. Is the math mathing, or am I stupid? So unless you really think that you can get Tarek Skubal to stay in Detroit after you disrespected the hell out of him with all this arbitration BS and stringing him along, then why won't you go all in when you know this is your best chance? This is your last roll at the craps table. You have to hit. Have to. If anybody should know what it's like to be in the position and not strike while the iron is hot, it's the Detroit Tigers. Growing up with this guy and this guy and all of these guys and these guys, all I've ever known as a Detroit Tigers fan is coming up short. So can we please do something different? All right. Um, Tigers tonight, 7:15. We got our boy Casey Mize on the mound, and versus Martin Perez. Um, Excited for this one. You got, Tigers first AL Central, Braves first in the NL East. The Braves on a tear right now, 20-9. Um, Obviously, listen, you got some guys on this roster you got to deal with. Shout out Yastrzemski, who I believe was he was on the KC Royals last year. Yeah. Huh. No kidding. Oh no, it's San Francisco. Wait. No, I knew. See, I knew it. He was KC last year. He got traded. I know these things. Okay. I don't know why I'm going off on a tangent about some guy at the bottom of the lineup for the Braves, but that's just kind of how my brain works sometimes. 7:15 p.m. guys, tune in, and this weekend me and Nick will have a new episode of Woodward Tigers, a little post game recap. So be sure to tune in there. That will be on Woodward Sports. After we try to make sure immediately after the last game of every single Tigers series, we try to get a stream out. We have been getting these streams out for the most part. So make sure you guys tune into that. If you haven't already, if you gotten this far in the video and you haven't liked, commented, subscribed, or at least, just hit that thumbs up, little like button, please. You don't have to say anything, but you could give me the gesture. I really appreciate it. Anyways, guys, that'll do it for today's episode. So, yeah, I wish I had a little bit more exciting, things to talk about, but not a great weekend for Detroit sports. Overall, hopefully the rest of the week goes a lot better. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Love you all. And yeah, peace.